This man is the parking guy. If you want to park on the street, that guy and his helper there will direct you into the spot, and then he will charge you what you're to be charged. And these are all over the town instead of having parking meters, which would probably be, I guess, difficult to install. Actually, this guy is just a fellow who takes advantage of the situation to help the officer for parking, while at the same time getting himself an opportunity to do those windows for cars. I think this is an antique wine press, or not wine press, but maybe either olives, or maybe a grape press. And another one, whatever it is. We're now inside a Recoleta, or a Recova, I think it's called. And this is just a big market type thing. Pretty much set in place. Just tons of the preserves and nuts, and mainly the dried fruit, some gewgaws, and restaurants upstairs. So these are shops on the interior. Here's a bunch of hairdressing shops here. And looks like that's what most everything here is. And there's a photo shop over there. And this is a woman who's trying to get me to go to a restaurant, but I probably won't do it. Anyway, the internet. And the restaurants seem to be around the perimeter. It's a pretty layout, nothing terribly cheesy about it. It's nicely done. It's a nice facility. It's not like some of the others that you see that are a little bit rougher. Restaurants also on. Okay, I chose a restaurant on this side so that I would have a more intimate community look. This is off the main buying tourist, well, it's not a tourist square, it's the main buying shopping area. And this is off that, obviously a depot for cabs, and looks like local buses too. Figured I'd get a chance at seeing more of what's going on. You'll notice the kids have different uniforms for different schools, I'm sure. And apparently all kids must have, all schools have uniforms. Although it seems like you can have an athletic uniform or a going to class uniform. I've seen what looks like both. So this is my setup for my salad. I had something that looked exactly like this morning, only it was made out of fruit and I was supposed to put it on bread. So being very clever and not thinking and nor knowing, I put it on bread this time. It turns out to be a fairly tangy, spicy sauce. The restaurants are pretty hungry for business, as you'll see by the 3 cards that I have. I rejected a few others, given out by people as you come up the stairway to try to induce you to come to their restaurant. Apparently the margin in restaurants is not. My afternoon dinner, that's shrimp and avocado with mayonnaise. They have a different kind of mayonnaise, has a nicer, I like it better, although I try and avoid it. Strange things abound here, but almost in a fun, like whimsical way. He's selling something. This is probably a man who has a business, a small little business selling whatever that stuff is, and it's easy for him to come down here, pick it up in a cab and go home, or go back to his business. The irony is you'll hear occasionally a horn blowing, particularly if they're either getting antsy or trying to send a message to somebody. They're very impatient. The irony of it is there's a law, apparently, our guide told us this morning, in this country, or this area at least, that outlaws the use of horns under any circumstance at all. And of course every house or every car has one. My guess is that oftentimes a car just isn't necessary, at least for all the things that have to be done. So it's just as easy for the family to come downtown on a cab and then buy all the stuff and take a cab back home. Crossing the street is novel here. You notice there's a crosswalk right there, and 2 boys are crossing the street where there isn't one. If you wait for a gap in the traffic, you're welcome to cross at that time. From what I gather, and we'll see if I can see it here, if you hit that crosswalk before that, cars are reasonably anywhere near there, it's pretty much your crosswalk, and they don't evidence it, they don't look at anybody, they just keep walking. No, no, gracias. ¿La cuenta, por favor? Just looking for old funky places. This is about as close to the river as I want to get. There's the river over there. But it looks like these are really the trashed out places. I'll go down to my little part of town. Not particularly pretty at this point, but old. A new door, there's an irony. These all look like they're probably still lived in. Some of them, well, that one's painted nicely. Some of them look like they might be warehouses or something. Maybe a newer one at an older time. The thing that's interesting as I walk down here, you can't be sure what's behind the wall because you can't be sure what's behind the door. This looks pretty ratty, but there's no telling what's inside of there. We're getting some nicer buildings, but these may probably tear them down and build up something new. Here's a series of relatively new buildings, not this one. At least they look like they are, at least they've been remodeled. This one looks new. It may be that they've bought old places, expanded or tore them down or remodeled. Behind me is a old place, but I can hear hammer and smell chemicals. Presumably somebody's working on it. I've got a clue of where I am because that church way down there is on the corner of the main square. Now this is the river, and apparently it's one of the dump areas. This is a dump and it smells like a dump. Don't think it's supposed to be. Elsewhere in the world, these might have some pristine properties. The view's pretty. This is an old church, that Catholic church that my guide gave me a little bit of insight in. It looks like it's made out of adobe, plastered at one time. Looks like it was made some feeble attempt to support it, but it's obviously falling down, and he said they're quite willing to let it do that. They don't want to spend any money because it's not worth anything to them. Seems a shame to lose a historical artifact. Now this bush is in a garden, so I'm taking a picture of this just because it's so incredibly beautiful. Hopefully it's a reflection of the decline of the Catholic Church, which I would like to believe is occurring. It seems to me it's an ominous control device in the... This is a huge park, and it serves many, many functions. Here, probably a petting zoo of looks like llamas, and a racetrack. Certainly serves other petting functions. Soccer played out there on that dirt area, and this thing goes down for probably another quarter of a mile, I think. Some chivas and ovejas, goats and sheep. Funky old building. Don't know what it is or what its purpose has been. Probably several, but that's a hockey rink down there, not with ice, I'm sure, but probably played with skates on some kind of cement. At that end of the park is a circus. Don't know if it's permanent or not. And here more petting pens. Well, here also, but bunny rabbits, chickens, other kinds of stuff. And there a pond with ducks. Probably the occasional egret lands in it. Basketball court. And this tells you how much you will pay in this area if you choose to park here. And that cost is 23 cents for 10 minutes, or about